What if the success that once helped you become who you are is now quietly preventing you from becoming who you're here to be? Have you ever stared at the ceiling late at night and you're just completely exhausted and asked yourself these terrifying questions like, is this the best part of my life and it's coming to an end? And is it too late to live the life that serves my soul and for me to be able to make a difference at whatever level that is? You've built a successful career. You've achieved the goals. You're the professional fixer. You're the strong one that everyone has relied on. But lately, have you felt that little quiet, heavy truth in your body? Maybe you've outgrown the success and the achieving identity that got you there. One part of you wants to desperately move forward. You want to step into the next chapter of your life. And you want to do your life's work, or maybe just stop working altogether. But then there's another part of you that's maybe paralyzed by this little midnight whisper. And that whisper is, if I stop producing and achieving, am I still going to matter? Wow. If you're standing at that painful, frozen crossroads today, I want you to take a deep breath. You're not broken. You're very normal. It's not too late. You are simply entering into a new season. And if you're wondering, well, who am I if this season of my life is changing? Then stay with me, because today I am taking you into the orchard, and it's going to reveal why the fear of being unnecessary has really very little to do with purpose. And it has everything to do with a frightened little root belief that has just completely forgotten your true significance and where you're sourced, where that comes from. This changes everything. So hi, if we haven't met, I'm Judy K. Katz, and I want to welcome you. And if you're new here, this channel is a sanctuary. It's a sanctuary for high-achieving women who are navigating these deep transitions of life. And I'm so glad that you found your way to be here today. And before we begin, I want you to notice maybe there's an urge in your mind that you might be having right now, is looking for something, looking for answers, like maybe a quick fix or a tactical answer, or maybe a checklist to solve your problems. Well, we're not going to do that today. In fact, today we're completely bypassing your analytical mind altogether. I am speaking directly to your soul. I'm speaking to the soul, which is that deep underground space where true transformation really takes place. So just let your shoulders drop. Just take a deep breath and just simply relax into the story. Just allow yourself to look through the eyes of the gardener and of the tree. And please stay with me, because this is all going to unfold, and I'm going to reveal something that's very important as to how your desires are very much a part of this story. In a recent episode, Have You Outgrown This Version of You? And I posted it in this Orchard podcast series. We talked about how our lives can become root-bound, like a potted plant that gets trapped in the container and it's become too small for its growth. Well, today we're going to leave the pots behind, and we're walking into this vast, mature, transformational tree orchard. So just imagine this vast, quiet orchard in the late hours of autumn. And can you see that gardener just walking through the rows? The air is crisp, the sun is setting low, and the gardener stops in front of a magnificent, powerful tree. And from the outside, the tree looks pretty healthy and it's successful. It's covered in brilliant golden leaves. But the gardener notices something's wrong. The branches are kind of stiff. The trunk is rigid. It's kind of bracing itself, maybe trembling a little bit under the weight of the cooling wind. The tree is holding on to its leaves with this desperate clenching force. It's fighting the wind. It's terrified of the frost. It thinks that if it lets those leaves drop, well, then those empty branches are going to mean that it's no longer an important tree. It thinks its entire value lies in what it displays to the world. Well, the trunk, which is the nervous system of the tree, is just buckling under the immense stress of trying to keep the autumn from being winter. Well, unfortunately, the harder the tree's trying to hold on, the more exhausted and frustrated it becomes. The little gardener looked at the tree. He doesn't yell at the tree. The gardener doesn't tell the tree just to try to hurry up and figure this out. Well, instead, the gardener just kneels down into the cool, dark soil at the base of the trunk. The gardener could feel the tension coming from that trunk. This is where the emotions are felt, in the body of the tree. With curiosity instead of criticism, the gardener asks the trunk, "What are you afraid will happen if you just let this season unfold naturally?" Well, for a long while, the tree said nothing. And then the trunk began to speak. "My whole body feels tight," it said. "I just can't rest. I'm afraid. If these leaves fall, who's going to need me? Am I really going to be matter? Am I going to matter anymore? Well, if I stop doing what I've always done, who's going to want me?" Oh, the gardener gently placed one hand upon the tree's trunk. She could just feel the fear moving through it. Not as an idea in her head, but as something that tree had carried for many, many seasons. Well, without trying to calm it or to correct it, she just listened. And then, the gardener heard something coming from beneath the surface. As she digs past the thick, tough surface roots, the ones that handle the daily storms and the heavy lifting of life. And deep underneath, the gardener finds this tiny, fragile, trembling little root system. It's actually the little root system of insignificance. As she listened closely to the dirt, she heard a little root crying out, "I only matter when someone needs me." And she listened again, and another said, "If I stop proving myself, I'm going to disappear." And then another quietly confessed, "I've spent my whole life trying to become essential and needed. I don't ever want anyone to reject me and leave me behind ever again." Oh. With that one, the gardener's eyes filled with tears of compassion. She could feel the pain from what these little roots were believing. She didn't argue with them, and she didn't try to convince them to feel better, like look at the bright side. She just simply accepted and loved them just the way they were. Well, she knew fear always believes that it must earn what love has always given it. So, let me ask you, for years of your life, have you been doing exactly what that tree's been doing? You've been exhausting your nervous system, maybe tending to your leaves of external success, running yourself ragged, trying to fix other people and taking care of everybody else. You want to just keep that tiny little hidden root of "I don't matter" just quiet and unnoticed. Well, perhaps you've turned your healing and even your spiritual growth into another project to perfect. You're hoping that if you just get healed enough, you'll finally earn the right to be authentic. But as you can imagine, you can't fix a root by polishing its branches, right? True healing doesn't mean cutting away your messy parts or waiting until you're good enough to start your life. The ancient meaning of the word healing is simply to become whole. Now think about it. Think of what wholeness means. It's to include all, whole, right? Wholeness happens when the gardener places her hands gently in the dark dirt and wraps them around that trembling little root that's doubting itself. And then with that compassion and that connection, she just brings it back home. A tree in late autumn doesn't drop its leaves because it failed. It drops them because it trusts that natural spiral of growth. It knows that the life force must move inward and down into the trunk, down into the deep earth, to rest before it can expand to the next spring. You don't have to lose your value when you stop being useful. You matter because you're here as an individual expression of the one source of life and love itself. Wow, think about that. And you know, one more thing that is very important, and it's different from what you've ever thought, and I spoke about it a few minutes ago. The gardener began hearing another root deep below that root system of insignificance. You know that what that root was? It was the root of desire. The root of desire is actually a gift from the original source of love and life itself. So feel deeply into yourself and just listen carefully. What have you been desiring for a very long time? Just be honest with yourself. You know, this is really your inner light that's shining brightly, reminding you that what you're longing for, you already are. Wow. Your longing isn't the problem. It was only fear's interpretation of the longing. So, you know, what if longing is really the evidence that love is present and it's calling you back home? You know, finally the gardener heard one more powerful root begin to speak ever so gently. My beloved, you have never mattered because of your fruit. You have mattered because my life has always been flowing through you. I never asked you to become essential. You know, I only asked you just to remain connected with me. And the tree stood perfectly still. And you know, for the first time, it felt something different moving through its trunk. It wasn't fear. It was relief. Just relaxed. And suddenly, one little leaf quietly released itself, and it floated gently down to the earth. And then the gardener noticed another one, and another, and then another. And then the tree realized it wasn't losing itself. It was just making room for another season of life to begin. You know, sometimes our greatest identity crisis isn't about losing success. It's really about discovering that success was never the source of our significance. When we've spent years trying to prove our value through what we do, and believe me, I understand that one very, very well. And I also know that life eventually invites us into a deeper season. That's where our worth is no longer measured by our usefulness. Instead, it's remembered through our relationship and our connection. Purpose was never meant to prove your value. Purpose is simply love expressing itself through your unique life. So if you're entering into a new season, like retirement, your health is changing, maybe you have an empty nest, or maybe you're just feeling that that identity that once served you, it just is no longer fitting. And I invite you to spend a few quiet moments just listening to your own tree and ask yourself, what am I afraid would happen if I no longer needed to prove my value? And then listen beneath the fear, because you're going to discover that there might be another little root that's finally trusted you, that it'll reveal what the longing has been within you that's been waiting for you to listen. Because you know, beneath every frightened little root, that mighty taproot of love is still whispering. It never stops. You have never mattered because of what you've done. You matter because my life has always been expressing itself through you. So before we close the video, I just invite you to lay that burden down of having to hold it all together. I want you to take a deep breath and just sit quietly in the orchard with these two questions. Who are you when you're no longer being useful? And what remains of you when your leaves finally fall? You know, I've left a safe space for you in the pinned comment below, so you can just really please share your heart. And if you're ready to stay in this sanctuary, just click on the playlist video on your screen right now to enter into the orchard, and let's keep walking this path together. So rest well tonight. I'll look forward to seeing you in the comments. And until then, bye for now.